Alright guys, it's Rage here, and this is going to be a VFX breakdown or a tutorial on how I replaced the Kriegler sign or the Highrise sign. So yeah, everybody's been asking me how I'm doing it, so this is going to be it. So yeah, we're going to start off by getting the actual image of the sign. So just there it is, there's the sign, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to change these letters. To do this, we're going to have to get rid of the old ones and replace them with new ones. So some people have been asking me if I just rubbed them out, but if you could do that, it'll leave a black mark behind you, behind where the sign was. So what you want to do, it's quite simple, but it might take a lot of time depending on where you're replacing. You want to duplicate the layer, just so you have a backup of the original. And then you want to come down to the scroll bar at the side here and choose this one here. Make sure it's on the clone stamp, and then mess around with the hardness or the size to make sure it matches where you want to replace. I'm going to go with about that. You come into where you want to see it, and you can see that you have to imagine what is behind the sign. So behind the K you can see that I'll have some of that, some of the building behind it, as well as some of the dangling construction equipment behind it. So to use the clone stamp tool, you hold down Alt and click on something, and what you click is what you'll be painting on. So say I want to duplicate this sign over the K, I'd Alt click on the sign and paint it over, and you just have to keep doing it a few times like this. So now you can see that the dangly thing, whatever the fuck it's called, is now covering the K. So you just want to zoom in a bit more. You can see that this part of the K is covered by the purpley building in the back, so alt click on the purpley bit of the building and then just paint it on like that. There you go, now the top of the K is gone. Behind the middle part of the K is going to be the windows, so alt click like that. There you go, you've got the windows. This part's going to be the purple bit again, so just paint on the purple bit. This part's going to be the top of the wall. This part's going to be some grey shit, I don't know what the fuck it is. So that's just a rough thing, you can spend a lot more time on yours, but there you go, the K is gone and it actually looks like it's gone. So if we come to somewhere where it's going to be a bit more advanced, like getting rid of the L maybe because there's a building behind it, you could just do the clone stamp thing and cover the whole thing up. Or as you can see here, we've got windows going all the way down in the same shape. So if we grab the pen tool and just cut out the one piece there, right click, make selection, and then press Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and now just move it down, and then just do this a few times till it covers all the way down the building. Like that. So now you can see the building is pretty much in front of the L. And yeah, you just keep doing that throughout the whole thing. You've got to keep imagining what's going to be behind the sign and then try and replicate that and clone it over. Like for example here, the R, this is the sky that will be covering it, so just perhaps make your brush a bit bigger, a bit softer. Alt click on the sky, and then make sure you're back on the background layer. And then just paint over the R like that. And then as you can see, it looks like the sky is covering the R. So yeah, once you've done all of that, it should look like this. Basically, just that looks like the sign's not there completely. So after you've done that, we're going to go on to progress to make the replacement text in Cinema 4D, or if you have After Effects, use Element 3D or whatever you want to use, but I'm going to use Cinema 4D for this one because that's what the majority of my users have. So yep, open up Cinema 4D, click down here, make a new material, open the material editor, click on the color tab, texture, load image, and then load up your original image with the unchanged sign, so the one with the old text still there. So pictures, Kriegler, click yes, and then go up to here where the light tab and click background, and then drag and drop the material onto the background, and there you've got that. You might want to come up into the render settings, which is the third one along here. It looks almost like a film snapper reel from America or something, but click that, go on to output and change it to width to 1280 and the height to 720. And there you go, now you've got the same size image as it will be in Vegas or Photoshop. And yep, now go on to this one, click text, and then just start replacing letters. So I'm just going to start doing Solitude again. Now you've got the S, you might want to change the font to match the sign, but that looks alright for now. Come up into this weird QB tab, click extrude NURBS. Then in the objects tab over here, drag and drop the text underneath the extrude NURBS until a little downwards arrow comes up, and let go. And there you go, you've got text. Now you can either click this little rotatey thing at the top right of the screen here to rotate it around to the same angle, I suppose you could say, as the sign. Or if you've got it like this, you click on the extrude NURBS, click the rotation tab at the top left, and then move the sign yourself. But I think I'm going to move the whole screen to save individually moving each new letter, which I do. And now you want to, as you can see on the sign, there's a black bit around the edge, so we're going to have to create some caps for our text. So we'll click on the extrude NURBS, go into the caps tab down here, change cap to fillet cap, and that also to filling cap. You can keep it like that if you want, but I'm going to change the fillet type to two-step. And yep, there's your basic text done. Now you're going to have to create a material to look as close as the original sign as you can as possible. It doesn't have to be exact, because you can always change it back in Photoshop to make it look more like the sign. So double click down here to pick a new material, color, try and get as close to the sign as possible. I'm going to change this to a double torus. Don't matter about all this, just make sure you choose the right colour and that'll be it. So yep, now you're going to drag that onto the text and then make another material, colour, click the colour tab, choose screen colour. Oh, it would help if the fucking thing wasn't in the way. And then choose the outside bit of the sign, so the browny bit like that. And there you go. Just give me a second. And then you're going to drag that onto the text as well. And now you want the brown bit to only go around the edge and the white bit to stay on the front. So click on the material in the object tab up here until it goes orange. Then where it says selection, type capital R1. And now as you can see, only the edge goes brown like that. And if you want to make the text look a bit more nice, just look nicer, open up your render settings again, click Effect, Ambient Inclusion, and Effect, Global Illumination. Now with Global Illumination, you're going to have a light in as well, otherwise it's just like that. So click on the Light tab, click Lights, and then reposition it to say somewhere like back here. And now when we render it, you can see that it looks a lot nicer than it originally did, and it looks pretty close to the original text. So if we just make this as close to the original as we can, and now once you've got the one letter done, you're going to have to do each individual letter separately. So I've got the S, I'm going to render that out, I'm going to open the render settings, click on Save, make sure you click Alpha Channel, choose your destination path. I'm just going to save it to my desktop for now as S. Change anti-aliasing to best and still image. Output, current frame rate, anything you want. Pixel aspect ratio 1, resolution 72, Those are the 128 by 720 dimensions. Make the format as a TIFF PSD layer, that gives the best quality. And yep, just click render to picture viewer by clicking the middle thing here and then clicking render picture viewer. Now as you can see, the S is there. Now go back into the original Photoshop file, click File, Open, go to Desktop, click on S, so open up the S file, and then in the Layers tab in the bottom right, click on Channels, and then Control click on the Alpha layer, and then click Control C, go back over to the other Photoshop file and click Control V. So now just the S is in our project file. So now I'm going to attempt to make it look like it's part of the sign. Yeah, I might need to rotate that a bit more. So if it's a bit off, just go back into Cinema 4D, rotate it a shitload, render it again, overwrite it. That looks a bit better. Back into Photoshop, File, Open, S, Channels, Control click Alpha, Control C, Control V, get rid of the old S. It's going to be that one. And then make sure you've got the right layer selected with the S on it, and then click Control T to bring up the free transform box. Click on an edge, hold down Shift and drag in until it's around the same size. And yeah, there we go. It's on the sign now, and it doesn't look like the rest of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to go onto the original background layer, click on the choose a color, and then color pick the same color as of the text. So you've got this pinky stuff here. We're then going to go back onto the S layer and click the magic wand tool and select just the inside of the S, just the inside. Select the paintbrush tool with the new color you've selected, and basically just fill it in like that. So there you go, it looks a bit more realistic now. I should have changed the font in Cinema 4D, but you can always change it to something like Bebas would look good, yeah, so just try that. And then do the same with the background color of the text. Color pick it, click on the S layer, select just the brown bits, the layers, if you can, and just fill it in with the brown bit. And okay, maybe not the brown bit, because it looks fine as it was. If you think that's fine, then yeah, go with it, but I'm gonna keep the original background bit like that. And then yeah, once you've got rid of the whole background and replaced all the text, it should look something like this. It doesn't look the exact same as the background for now, but when we go to adjust it in After Effects and put a color correction on it, it'll suit it a lot more. As you can see here, the gaps between the sign, the like metal girdings that hold the sign together, aren't there because I got rid of them in the original background. So if you want to add them in to make it look a bit more realistic, you'd go back into Photoshop and you'd turn on the layer which I told you to duplicate at the start, so the untouched layer. So the original layer here, and you'd use a pen tool, and basically just like cut out one of the metal girdings. Like I'm going to select this one here, pen tool, just draw it, right click, make selection, feather radius 0, and then Control C, Control V. So now you've got one of the girdings, and you'll just basically place it all along the sign behind the new letters. So if I put that there, and there it basically looks like the girdings are holding it on like it did in the original sign. So yep, that's how you replace the sign. It was pretty simple, but it can take a long time, and I know it took me like around an hour, maybe more, just to get rid of the sign and replace it when I was doing it. But yep, we're going to go into After Effects now. File, import file, go find the oh yeah, and in Photoshop, when you've got the sign you want done, let me hold on. there's the sign, click File, Save for Weapon Devices, choose JPEG maximum, and then save it. And then when you open up into After Effects, just open up the file that you saved, so Solitude. And now it'll be here in your Project Media tab, so click on it and drag it into this button down here, which makes a new composition with all the right settings to fit that sign. So now we're going to click Ctrl-Alt-Y, which brings up an adjustment layer, effects, magic bullet looks, or just like curves or any effect you want to add for your colour correction. I'm going to use magic bullet looks. If it ever opens, my computer's a piece of shit. My laptop, I should say. Come on. It's just saying. Yep, now just add a colour correction that might make it look a bit more realistic. That'll look good for quite a rock thing, like a rock or a hardcore edit. So I'm going to go with this one. I'm just going to create a quick colour correction. Add another layer. Looks again. Add shield as well. Okay, drag that under there. Yep, so now the sign looks a bit more realistic, but to make it look even more, what you want to try and do is take the eye off the sign by maybe adding a flare, or what I did in actual Solitude is I added another adjustment layer, effects, colour correction, no, blur and sharpen, lens blur, Gaussian blur, anything you want to add, just a blur. Turned it up a bit so I can see where it's blurring, and then basically just did this with a mask tool, just created a mask around like a kind of a crescent moon shape like this. Click F, feather out the mask, and then I'm going to click M, so mask pass comes up. Click the stopwatch, and then at the end of it, or make sure you've got the show mask thing selected here next to frames. Click the arrow tool and just change the mask so it covers the whole thing, like this. So now you can see that the blur will slowly consume or move across the screen like that. That looks quite nice. If you drag that underneath the adjustment layer, it'll change the blur to make it look a bit more clean and crisp. So now I'm going to add an optical flare, so click Ctrl-Y to make a new solid. OK, make it comp size everything. Effect, Video Copilot, optical flares. Wait for it to load up. Yep, so here we've got our optical flares. We're going to click Options in the Effects tab up here, and then you can just make anything you want. I'm just going to use a preset one and adjust it a bit. So natural flares. I always like to use golden light and then adjust it because it's got the rainbow thing in it, and that makes it look a bit nice. So I'm going to move it in a bit. Yeah. And then click, if your thing isn't already like this down the bottom left, click F4 so it changes to like that with the text. Change the mode to add, and then if you click on the actual optical flares text in up here, you can click and drag it to where you want to be, and now you can see that the flare looks like it's standing out too much. It's not very obvious, so when you drop it below the adjustment layers, it'll change it and make it a lot nicer. So yeah, there we go. That makes it a bit less obvious that the sign's not actually there. And yeah, that's basically it. It looks a bit nice. It's not, I didn't go through the effort of doing it frame by frame to make an animation in a moving cinematic. So what I did is I did it on a single image, and then when I brought it into Sony Vegas, just let me find the file. Okay, I've got it in my Solitude folder somewhere. Yeah, so once you've like finished that, just compose composition, add to render queue. After you've done everything you want to do to it, add to render queue, change your format to whatever preset you've got. I've got WMV because my version of After Effects doesn't have H.264 available, and that's the best format. So yeah, once you've got it all rendered out, go back into Vegas and let me find it in this piece of shit folder. What's this? Yep, there we go. You can see there, that's my original file. And to make it look like it's actual moving image, I'm going to click on the event pan crop tool down here, click on the first keyframe and zoom in, rotate it a tiny bit, maybe that way, and move it to the left, and then go to the end, click restore, zoom in a tiny bit maybe and move to the right, rotate it a tiny bit. So now if you watch it back, it looks like it's moving. And what I do with my edits, I always add my effects in Vegas. I usually just do colour correction and maybe an optical flare here and there, as well as Twixtor in After Effects, and then come in to do all my effects in Vegas. To make the cinematic look a bit more, I'm going to open up the event effects button, click levels and Gaussian blur. At the start we're going to lower the levels after you've clicked animate. Lower it a bit, then at the end we're going to bring it back up to the top, Gaussian blur, we're going to click animate, at the end we're going to make it 0, and at the start we're going to have, you can either choose to have both blurred a tiny bit, like maybe 0.02, 0.02, that's enough really, or you can have one or the other. I'm going to have vertical up to about 0.03, so now if you watch it back you'll see that at the start it flashes, it blurs, and then it comes back in like that, and it's a very nice effect. So also my cinematics, I like to have black bars on them, so click on the keyframe, make sure you have got maintain aspect ratio as yes, and then what you do, you come to these side buttons here, these two square buttons, and then click and drag on the top of the big F thing down, and then the same with the bottom, and now you can see in the preview window I've got the black bars like that. So I always do that to make my cinematics look a bit nicer. I don't know, I just prefer it like that. And there you got it guys, my a quick breakdown of how I did my Solitude cinematic. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Send me a private message, comment asking what to do, because I know I'm not the best at tutorials, and this is a quick one that might have been confusing. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. Peace.
Get hyper.